Jason and
Yeah, I hadn't heard.
James at this point.
Yes, sir. I hadn't heard from Jason, so I don't know. Colin's on there, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you got back from the courthouse, Colin. I saw you walking across the street going towards the courthouse just a little while ago.
Yeah, they were having a
Oh, yeah, the
Republican meeting over there.
meeting. Yeah, I remember
Mary
that.
Dunn speaking on some stuff.
So we'll give James a chance to get on and we'll start in just a minute.
I just spoke to his wife, let him know that he was in the wrong one, an old one. So hopefully he should be signing on in a sec.
We don't have any guest with us tonight.
I thought Chief Webb was supposed to be on here tonight. Let's see. I don't see him yet.
Was the sales tax for January?
I think it is. Isn't it, Bob?
Yes, January.
Okay.
So if
I
you
was
look at
wondering-
the previous Januaries, it's still 12.5% higher than any of the record that was set last year, basically. So
Okay.
in January.
Okay, I see James still connecting to the audio. Are you on, James?
I think he's on. He's not on. His audio is not on though.
Right.
There it goes. No. Yeah, now he's on.
Can you hear us, James?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. All right. Well, we'll get started. It's 7 o'clock. First item on the agenda tonight is, of course, review the financials. Bob, do you have anything you need to point out to us?
Yeah, if you go to the general fund portion of the monthly financials, we received a new source of revenue, which is called, let's see, the state sports betting revenue.
Right.
Is that an annual thing, Mayor? Do you know?
No, that should be a monthly thing from now on. They just
Okay.
approved gambling in Tennessee on sports. And there are 3 or 4 companies that are now licensed. They are doing 10 times more business than they anticipated when they approved this. And they charge a 20%. The companies have to pay out so much. And then what's left is taxed at like 20%. And then half of that money is going to go to cities and counties. So how much did we get?
We got $398.81. Not a whole lot.
It'll probably slow up now because of the basketball and football are big generators of those taxes. So it'll probably slow up until the fall. When
Yeah, we didn't get
football comes
anything.
back.
Yeah, we didn't get anything in February, but I haven't gotten.
Well, it just started.
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, you would have just now begun to get it because they only approved it right before the first of the year.
Right.
So right now it's generating a whole lot more money than they anticipated. But then, we'll just get our part like all other cities and counties. So who knows what it'll bring in the end. Anything else?
Not really. Everything seems to be rolling along fine. I am going to do one more budget amendment for the purchase of that firehouse, but that'll be May and then June for that approval. So I'm not the firehouse, the fire truck, sorry. So
Okay.
that'll be in May and June.
Or does any of the board members have any questions? Okay. Item B, expense line overruns.
This is about the same. There were two new ones in the utility departments. Not sure how insurance is higher because I know we get refunds on insurance, but anyway, it's higher. And of course, maintenance on lines and meters, we're doing a lot of work in gas, so it's just, we got a lot of repairs out there right now, so that's it.
Okay, did we have much freeze damage to water or sewer or gas lines that will show up?
Jeep is here.
No, sir, we didn't, but the customers, a lot of the customers did. We had a few breaks here and there, but nothing on our end that was substantial. The customers, however, had a lot of individual pipe breaks, just water.
Okay, so we're not going to see a big expense in gas, water, or sewer next month from paying the bills for that.
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any questions on that? Capital projects and purchases update.
Well, we're getting close to the end. So the project, the UT Martin roof project's underway. They're out there working on it right now. The computer system for the police vehicles is on the agenda for tonight. Firehouse projects is expected to start at the beginning of June. We'll award the contract on maybe a called meeting on the 1st of June. They are turning that project into USDA and CDBG on Friday. So we ought to know within a month. And then they anticipate going to bid on that in May. So we'll see if that all, hopefully that all works out well for us. The TDOT sidewalk grant, it's actually, they have started. They started on Monday. Well, I actually started last week. I started a little bit last week and they finished a part of it right next to the Rosser building there. And they're working on the where the gas station is right now. So that they ought to be here until they get that finished. Lakeview Road project is probably going to start June or July. The other one's going to be 4 or 5 months behind that one. And I think that's about it.
Any questions on that? Sales tax.
Well, we're still rolling along on sales tax. It's not as great as it has been, but it's still 12.5% higher than the largest, January we've ever had. So March's is January sales tax. So again, next month ought to be relatively low also, and then picks up the last 2 months of the year. So I think we're right on schedule to do that 675 that we amended the budget to. And then Mendy's compilation of online sales tax revenues, which is basically estimated. It's not quite exactly right, but it's pretty close. And you're talking 30 to 32% coming out. The last 2 months is 32% of our sales tax has been online. That's pretty significant. Came from online sales, I might add. So.
Any questions on that? Public safety, review monthly fire stats.
Are there any questions on that? Oops, sorry, Mayor.
Okay. Police stats, Chief. Chief, you're on mute.
How about that?
There
That's
you go.
better.
Awesome. March, 169 calls, so they were down a bit due to the weather that we had. Incident reports 33, arrests 22. Traffic stops 33, citations 275, written warnings 26, and the rest of the stats look proportional as it should be.
Any questions? Okay, and then your monthly report.
March 10th, in the Leadership Fayette board meeting, the 22nd Department presented 15 indictments at grand jury, which is one of the largest presentations of municipalities in the county, which I like to credit to our officers doing a fantastic job with their cases and their follow-up work on each case. March 23rd, arranged training with additional firearms training with the FBI Memphis office, which come to find out will provide this free of charge to the town, where they will come out 4 times a year, have an 8-hour course of instruction for the officers and patrol tactics with firearms. And they actually are doing that tomorrow. And we're currently researching the pros and cons of a possible firing range in the event in the future that we are not able to use the one we currently use, which we really enjoy using. And it's at Carolyn Ray's Journey to Road address, which most of the agencies currently use, but we're just seeing what our options are for the future in the event that's not available.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I personally appreciate Chief Webb reaching out to the FBI and setting this up. I think this is needed very badly.
Well, any additional training we can get above what is required that is quality training, we'll always be glad to participate in. And these guys send their whole team out tomorrow and work with our guys on sharpening our skills that we currently have and showing us what the latest and greatest skills are out there now.
Thank you, Chief Webb.
Thank you.
Did any of y'all read the article in the paper about all the different things Collierville's doing? And they're doing most of it with that COVID money. They've been approved to do it. One thing that, David, do we have anything that we can just, it just zooms in on somebody's license and it immediately, within seconds, tells you if it's a stolen car and all that jazz? Do we have any such thing as that?
We don't. We're currently talking to probably the same company you're referring to out of Memphis that has license plate registration. It's more of a recognition. When someone drives by it, will keep a record of the vehicle that was passing that location when you went by, and they restore it for a very short period of time, which of course would help with a major crime that you would know very quickly if it had occurred or not. We're currently talking to them about the expense and how that would work. As far as the COVID money goes, we weren't able to show where we as a department had any loss or additional expenses because of COVID. Really, I mean, that is very good. All of our guys were able to continue working and carry out their duties without causing any additional expenses to the town, or we would have been more to sign up
So
for.
we wouldn't be eligible for anything in the police department for
Not-
under COVID, the COVID money we're gonna get.
Yes, ma'am. And as far as that other technology, we're currently looking into that. I'm aware of what you're talking about.
Okay, okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the chief? Next item is take home vehicle radius 30 miles. I think the chief has prepared a report for you, and then I think there's also did you prepare a report, Bob?
Yes, yes, sir. I have the staff report here, which basically reiterates what the chief talked about at the retreat of how much it actually costs us to train a new officer. So recently we've had to train 2 new officers, which wound up costing us around $85,000 to train those 2 officers. Now we one of the officers that left actually left because of a take-home vehicle. The other one was just an opening that had to be filled. But we did have to replace an officer who left because of a take-home vehicle. There wasn't one, so he went to another place where there was one. Actually took a pay cut to go there too, because he wanted that take-home vehicle. However, what the chief wanted to show everybody at the retreat was that it really costs about $1,300 a year per vehicle to allow that extra 15 miles for take-home vehicle. And right now, currently, there are 3 police officers that expanding that radius would affect for basically less than $4,000 would help us retain those 3 officers and not put it through the expense of having to train new ones, and then have of course, officers with less experience in town. So anyway, do you have anything to add to that, Chief?
No, that was it. Thank you.
I think that's basically it. So I prepared a draft of the take-home vehicle policy, which is exactly the same take-home vehicle policy we have right now, except that I changed the words 15-mile radius to 30-mile radius. So there's really exactly the same take-home policy. Sorry.
Okay, are there any questions? All right, we will move that forward to the board meeting then. 2E is discuss purchasing a 2021 Tahoe for the police department in the 21 budget.
So we researched this. Chevy stopped making Tahoes in January, and the new ones will not be available until November. So, and we can't order them until October. So there are no police Tahoes available that we could purchase yesterday to get in this fiscal year. So one of the board members asked about that last time, and or at the retreat, I don't remember where. And there's nothing out there for us to buy right now. I just wanted to let everybody know that.
Okay, so it'll be October before we can order any police Tahoe.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there any discussion on that matter?
And they would be 22 Tahoes that we would order also,
Okay.
in October.
Okay, next item is review the state contract quote to purchase the hardware for the police vehicle computer system for $37,981.86.
Chief, you want to talk about this at all?
Sure. Over this past year, there's been quite a bit of discussion about the county possibly charging municipalities an amount for dispatch calls. And the amount that they came up with for our calls were around $50,000 a year. So we were began researching the options that would be available to us to alleviate a lot of the work that dispatch currently does for us with the sheriff's office. And one of those options is to get our own computers in each vehicle where our guys will not have to rely as heavily on dispatch, potentially cutting that call volume in half, and the county possibly not charging the municipality for the cost of using dispatch. This would allow our officers, if we did have the computers in the vehicles along with the software that we need for them, to basically do everything themselves. They'd be NCIC certified. They'd be able to run their own driver's license checks, warrants checks, registration checks, therefore eliminating a lot of the burden on dispatch. And this would potentially, in the long run, if the county were to start charging us for it, save us quite a bit of money. Each officer would have a tablet mounted inside their vehicle. They're rugged tablets. They're not a normal iPad type tablet. I've also spoken with ATA Technologies, our IT company, and they've approved the type of state contract tablets that are available to us. They said they are excellent equipment. They're Dell. And that quote also includes the mounting brackets and hardware that goes with each tablet. The police department would also be equipped with 2 docking stations that would allow each officer that has an assigned tablet to them to walk inside the police department, take it out of the car and walk in and plug it in the department. It also allows them to take it out of their vehicle and go into your home in the event we had to come to your home, take a report. They could sit there at your kitchen table and take a report in their tablet. It would go straight into our server and our system without any paperwork being generated. This is definitely the future of law enforcement. There may be some time that the state requires you to go digital with everything, therefore eliminating a lot of the paperwork that we currently use.
This also was budgeted at $35,000 in case anybody wanted to know.
Chief, can these tablets be used to do the electronic ticketing?
They can be. That's on the software side. That's going to be a separate module that you would purchase down the road. But yes, you're definitely able to accommodate that module,
Okay.
as well as the printer that would go with them.
Okay. Are there any questions?
Chief, are the sheriffs or 911 dispatchers still going to dispatch the calls? And are they going to want to charge us for that?
Yes, sir. They're still going to dispatch the calls and hopefully not be charged. I don't think we would, simply because we'd be reducing the work that they would have to do substantially. So what would happen is, currently right now, if you're in a patrol car, get a radio call to go to John Doe's home, and they'll give the additional information. Well, right when we go to the system, they won't have to call them on the radio. It's going to come up that officer is available for a call. The call will come in on their laptop or their tablet. All the details will be there about what the call is about. The officer will be able to look in live time at what the dispatcher is typing into the call memo section for their call. Whether a description of subjects and that type thing will be right there as they're typing and getting it from the person that's calling 911, say, for example, and it'll be right there in their car. So it's the same as their 911 system. It's a CAD system. It's computer aided dispatch. It's the system the sheriff's office is going to, and they will be live later this month using that system for the first time. So we're going to be the only other agency that has the same system as to what they're currently using in the county.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move that forward to the board meeting. G is discuss creating an unlawful restraint of dogs ordinance.
So after last month's board meeting, we had a couple of citizens that came and talked about. Sorry, oh, hang on a second. We had a couple of citizens came to us to discuss this type of ordinance like this. And so I wrote MTS and they sent me 2 versions of it. And I just was wondering if this is something the board actually wants to pursue. You know, I know if we want to, then we can start working on it next month, and I can bring to the workshop next month what I've worked on, and we changed it around a little bit to fit our needs. But so I was just wondering what everybody thought about that.
I like that idea.
You know, it's not a unlawful, it's not a not restraining dog ordinance. It's an unlawful restraint of dogs. So they limit the ways you can restrain the dog with a collar and they have to have certain devices so they're not strangled and whatever. So I think it's a pretty good ordinance, the one that I read, and I can bring it back to you all next month if that's what y'all would like to do.
So basically it's where somebody can't just chain the dog up in the yard and just leave it
Right.
there.
Right.
Right. Or if they're out, basically it's like being more humane to the dog.
Yes, sir.
I like that idea.
I do too. Let's certainly start the review of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. A few years ago, I was driving down through town and somebody had chained a chihuahua to their tree in the front yard. I'm telling you, it looked really bad. And I, you know, I don't know what happened with all of it, but boy, that would have been nice to have this in place then.
Yes.
Mhm.
Item 3, review building permit stats, permits issued and inspections made.
We had 4 new building starts. We're calling, she called the housing start on Jernigan, which is really Memphis Contract Packaging. So we had 4 new buildings started this month. 3 of them were houses. And Nicholas Place has changed dramatically if you haven't been over there lately. But I think they picked up another 4 yesterday. So they're really moving along. And then, of course, the inspections are increasing because of all the housing going on. And so we've had a relatively large inspection bill this month.
Have they pulled permits for the house over here on Warren?
Oh, yeah, they pulled them.
Oh, yeah, he pulled those last year.
Oh, okay.
We were wondering why he hadn't started, but I guess he didn't start because of the weather. But yeah, he actually pulled those, I'm going to say like November, October last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was this moving along now?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Are they actually building?
They've got the, you know, those concrete blocks they build up before they
Right.
start. They have those in.
Okay. Okay. Any questions on that? Code enforcement?
We had 34 violations this month and 21 have been resolved. We're starting now. Next month, you'll see lawn, you'll see grass cutting and other things in there that usually will be in there in the summertime, which will increase the violations as we go along. Plus, that says January. It should say March. At the top, it says January, but it's really March. I just was a copy paste error, sorry. So anyway, that's where we are. Any questions about that? And, you know, we're working at a decreased staff also for a little while, so we're catching up on that stuff too. 'Cause we're back-
3C, Community Development Director's Report.
Yes, sir. We are currently working, or the Birmingham cabinets, they've started work on the cabinet. They're building parts of it in their shop currently. We did receive the final VC3 internet security report, and we are in the process of making sure that all of their requests are either completed or updated with, the website developer. He's answered a few questions that they had. So hopefully in the next, I don't know, month, we should have a full report of what is being done so that we can submit that if we choose to apply for the insurance. Honestly, besides that, I've started to compile several comprehensive plans between the Lunarix KISS, the University of Memphis redevelopment, the ADA, the land use by Jordan, and then the land use by the Planning Commission. Started compiling those. Now, obviously, I'm not the person that's going to, be telling you what we're going to be using the property around town for, but I'm compiling pretty good information, updating all of that. And then it depends on what Bob and you, Mayor, choose to do with that. I figure we could send that to Jim to create maybe some maps, things like that. But just kind of updating all of that information from 1970 something or
91.
I'm sorry.
91.
91. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm stuck on this soil thing that I was looking at from the 60s, and I was trying to find an updated one. I can't seem to find one, so sorry about that. But been working on that. But besides that, any other questions?
You're only on page 120, isn't that right?
Yeah, 120, 130. I'm afraid it might be a book because I probably have too much information.
Any questions?
Mayor, can I say something?
Sure.
Okay. You put on a report of about the minutes being digital, but they're on microfilm, and I have been in contact with the state archives and library and trying to find the right person to talk to as far as possibly getting that microfilm digitized and so we can have something interactive whenever the museum starts.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
And I will try to get you back some information as quick as I can.
Okay, we'll stay on that.
I will. Mindy's got it written down, so if I drop the ball, she'll remind me.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Planning Commission report.
There's the Planning Commission report. Bluff Creek subdivision is going to be, they would like to rezone those two properties that are on the end of the Bluff Creek subdivision from what they are right now, commercial to residential, and then eventually subdivide those two properties to build 4 homes on those two properties. So they're going to take the 2 properties and make 4 out of it and build homes there. Where that should all be coming to the board. The ordinance for the rezoning is actually on tonight's agenda to talk about. And we did have a BZA meeting regarding the property down there at 12485 Highway 64. The Brewer Property Preservation Company down there just moved in close to Tennessee Tractor down there. They're going to be selling portable storage buildings out there in front of their building. That was a special exception that was granted by the BZA. And that's it.
Any questions on that? Discuss upcoming community events.
So I think that's Mindy's thing there, but I can start it off. We have coming up, we have the fireworks in June. And then, of course, we have the music on the square in September. And just wondering, we have to start working on the fireworks here like pretty soon if we're going to do it. So we kind of need to make a decision on the fireworks this month, I think, to get a band and get the fireworks lined up and all that stuff. Do we want to do it this year? We want to skip it this year again one more time and then do it next year or what? What's the general consensus there?
I say do it. People are getting vaccinated and everything. It's outside. I mean, the numbers are going down.
I agree, Colin.
I mean, a lot of people have had it, so they have natural antibodies, and then people have got vaccines, so they got their vaccinated antibodies, and then some people got both. Me being one of them, I'm extra covered.
Good for you.
Well, I just did it so that I wouldn't have to hear it in the courtroom anymore. I show my card, like, leave me alone.
Show your passport, huh?
Yeah, show my card and let me in this prison.
Well, we need to bring that to the board for a decision, Mayor, you think?
Well, let's see how late we can wait, because there's still some concern about these variants that right now they seem to be holding their own, but nobody seems to know where this is going. There was some anticipation of another surge occurring in June or July, unless they were able to outrun the variants with the vaccinations. So far, all the cases are staying down compared to where they were, but it usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks for things to show up. So if there's going to be a surge after Easter and spring breaks, it's another week or 10 days before that actually starts showing up. Up in Michigan, they're having another surge. So, I mean, I think we could be planning on it, but I don't know that we need to, at this point, say definitely without a doubt, 100%, we're going to do it. How far out do we have to have the contract?
Well, we might be able to.
Fireworks.
Don't you think we can just start talking to them to see if they're available?
Sure, we can start doing that, and we can start acting like we're going to have it. But I think we also at the same time have to be prepared to say, well, maybe we shouldn't have done that.
Well, I think the biggest thing to me right now is the sponsorship. Do I request that, and will the school allow us to do it at the high school as we always have? I don't know what their rules or their policy is right now. And to be quite honest, I don't know where we would have it if we didn't have it at the high school. So I mean, the high school may say, heck no, we're not allowing that. And with the new administration, I just don't know. So that's my big thing, and obviously we have to book a band, and sound and things like that. But hopefully we could get that done pretty quickly. But having Fayette Ware booked and the sponsorship for the fireworks and then the fireworks themselves, that's the 3 main things to me.
Well, I think we could certainly, move toward that. I don't know. I mean, if you could find out between now and the board meeting, what the status of those various things would be.
Absolutely.
And then we could look at it.
I just wanted your approval to even discuss it. I didn't want to discuss it without, talking to the board first.
Didn't we have it in September, the last time we had it?
No,
No, we had it in June.
We did?
it's always been for the 4th.
Hmm.
Fireworks
Yeah,
is
we've-
on June, but the music on the
But
squares is
I thought we
Yeah,
had
music
that
on the stairs in
separate.
September.
Well, we did.
Yeah,
We
we
had,
do.
when we moved the music over on the
Mhm.
To the
square, we
Right,
still continued to have the July 4th, or when we
right.
moved the music
Okay,
to
I'm sorry.
September, we
I
still
was thinking,
continued to have the last Thursday in June for fireworks.
That's right. That's
But
right.
it
Right,
wasn't
you're right.
winding up our music. It was just a
It was just
standalone
an
event.
event by itself.
Right.
Mhm.
Y'all are right, I'm sorry.
Well, that's all right. That's all right. It feels like eternity since we did it, so I understand.
All right, so if y'all could report back to us at at our meeting,
Yes, sir.
what you've been able to find out as far as what kind of lead times we have to have and that sort of thing. And then we can go from there. I'm not interested in sponsoring a big contagious event. I think that's one of the problems now is the reason it's been so bad is because people haven't taken it seriously.
Right.
Okay, any more questions or thoughts on that? Item F, discuss hiring an artist to create the mural on the east side of the museum building.
You want to discuss that, Mandy?
Yes, sir. Basically, what I would like to request is, I know that we want the Arts Commission to be a part of that. The good thing is several people that are on the Arts Commission are on the Main Street, or excuse me, the Downtown Committee. So that kind of all works together. But what I am proposing is to go ahead, choose the muralist, and once we have a contract with the muralist, they will be more willing and able to start to create a couple of different samples that we can tweak. And again, I'm not requesting that we hire or that we go forward with a design. I'm just wanting to hopefully choose the artist, and then once we have the contract with them, I think that they'll be a lot more willing to start a few drafts of a design. We did just get the contract from the downtown grant. It normally they would like us to complete it by December so we could apply for either the Main Street or the facade grant in January, February of next year. But we do have until April of 22 to have these items completed. So we do have some time, but I would like to get the design portion of it going if possible.
That's a good idea.
Ideas, questions, Judy?
I was thinking, it would be kind of nice if we could have some input from the community on what they'd like to see in the mural. I don't know exactly.
I think that's a great idea.
Great.
I don't know how we could go about it, but I personally like the one that did the Collierville one.
I agree. I think that is the very best one.
And I mean, if we're going to do
And that
it,
is actually on my, yeah, I agree. That is on my my request, my formal request to choose them, just because I really think that they meet what we are really looking for. But again, it's just a request.
And two, they got so many things, different things in this one at Collierville. I mean, we
Right.
could pick 6 or 7 things that we liked about the town and have them all on there. I'd eliminate the top one completely. The top, we got them at BC or 1, 2, 3 on there. My computer's acting up. Hold on.
Yeah,
I like the bottom artist.
Yeah,
Don't you?
and that is
Judy?
Davy Studios.
yes.
That's studios. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Where are they located?
Oh gosh, I don't, is when I met them, they're located in their truck.
Are they really?
Like,
Hey,
it's
that's a
kind
good
of a
place to
mobile
be.
deal, with what they do. I forget, I want to say Germantown or Collierville, but their office is kind of their truck.
Okay. We definitely need a part of the museum being on there. Included in it.
Sure.
Okay. We can move that forward to the board meeting for approval Monday night. Next, does anything else? Anybody else? Questions, thoughts? G, discuss revisions to the Town of Somerville's Arts Commission. I had asked y'all to consider changing this to, and basically it doesn't take much to change what we have here, but it would be the Town of Somerville Museum and Arts Commission. And then I would like to change that to 9 people instead of just 5. I have a list of 7 people at this point, which I will get to y'all with the board documents. I've still got 2 people that I want to talk to, and so that I plan on having that for the board packet if everything works out all right. My list of recommendations and the changes in this document would just be the Town of Somerville Museum and Arts Commission rather than having 2 different boards that could wind up competing.
Yeah.
I think it would be better to have just one because we plan to do, both items over there in that building, both some museum exhibits plus artist exhibits. So I think it would probably work out in the long run to have only one board doing that instead of 2 boards competing.
I agree.
Me too.
I do too.
So if
But
that's
less
agreeable,
paperwork.
yes, if that's agreeable to y'all, I'll have the changes in the document and the list in your board packet.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, ordinance 21004, amending title 14, chapter 2, the zoning ordinance on first reading.
Yes, this ordinance amends basically the Board of Zoning Appeals. There are a couple other housekeeping portions of this that are in this document. The Planning Commission worked on this for, I don't know how many months, 6, 9 months. We've been working on this document and getting it ready. The Planning Commission has approved to send it to the board for as a recommendation to approve this to the board as presented. So, like I said, this document has been worked over several times by the Planning Commission, amended, fixed up over the last 6 to 9 months, however long we've been working on it. So anyway, they recommended that we approve it at the next, the board approve this ordinance.
And it is now a perfect document.
Yeah, I hope so.
That
Better than what we have, I think.
that won't need to be amended before next week.
Oh, now come on, Ronnie.
All right, Bob, could you prepare for the board meeting and you may have already done that in your staff report, but could you could you prepare what the basic changes are for the
Yes.
board?
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay.
A one-page report.
Yes, just bullet point the changes that would be made from the current ordinance to the new one.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. We'll move that to the board. Review the revised contract with A2H to continue to provide planning services.
Tom reviewed this, made a few changes. The changes Tom made have been approved by A2H, and Tom's approved this contract. This is basically extending their services for 3 years with a 90-day clause to get out on both ends.
Okay, any questions on that? All right, we'll move that forward to the board. Ordinance 2021-005, amending the zoning map. This is to rezone the two parcels. Well, it's two parcels that will be divided into 4 parcels on each side of Bluff Creek. I assume y'all are familiar with the lot on each side was zoned commercial. He wants to change that zoning to residential and change that to 2 lots. So there would be 4 additional houses built there with no commercial zoning. The Planning Commission recommended that this be approved and thinks it's a very good idea to do that.
I think it is too.
So if there are no questions, we'll move that ahead to the board for first reading. Okay. And are we still going to have the renovation project at the meeting, Bob? Do you know?
Or the bid opening is on Thursday. We've had
Okay.
7 companies pull a packet, and I think it was 6 or 7. I have it written down. I just haven't compiled it all yet. So Andy will be there, and we're going to work together to put that whole thing together. That'll be Thursday at 11 o'clock if anybody would like to be here at City Hall.
Okay. So y'all have a recommendation then for Monday night?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions on that? Public Work Managers Report.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to commend our entire staff, the gas department. You all know how ugly this last month has been, and they were still able to get 38 services installed, over 3,000 feet of line put in the ground. With all the mud and the cold and the mess, they did an outstanding job. All of our departments are helping one another. Where we're lacking, the maintenance department's pitching in, the water department's pitching in, and the gas department has even helped fix our water leaks. The street department, this week, we got to the cemetery, and we requested help from all the departments, and everyone responded. Our positions that I asked for have all been filled. The new hires are working out great. The supervisors training with them is going very well, and we're actually finally, after a year, we had 4 guys today go to actual training events, live training events, and we'll have 5 more this month. It was a class scheduled in Jackson. They've moved it to Lexington because of the overwhelming need for the training. I'd like to work with Mindy more for the future in creating our own facility to be able to train utility workers, possibly along with firemen. So that's something that we've been working on. The rest is pretty self-explanatory. Do y'all have any questions for me?
Yeah, isn't there a meeting this month with TDOT on the bypass?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I left that off. We've
The
been
reason
working.
I'm asking is because I apparently didn't put it on my calendar. I've been looking for it, so.
It's next week, Mayor. I have it written down and I will email it to you. It is they are moving forward with the bypass project a lot more than they have in the last 30 years. We've finalized what we think will be sufficient to take care of our utility needs. And it's in the engineer's hand. Actually, the engineer sent it on to TDOT today. So they should be reviewing it and possibly sending us a contract within the next month. But there is, Mayor, it's next week. I can't remember the date. I believe it's Thursday, but I'll email it to you tomorrow.
Okay, I was thinking that sounded right, but that's April the 25th. I just found it. Okay.
25th.
But it appears from the activity going on right now that they still intending to let that contract in, what is it, October, November, Franklin? Is that what they're talking about?
Yes, sir.
I think. So we'll see when they actually put up some signs.
We've been there before, but I think it's going to happen this time, Mayor.
And they actually
Yeah.
listened to you and the county mayor's suggestions as far as how to deal with the traffic on Highway 76 and not cutting off the rest of the county to emergency services. So that was a pretty big step forward.
Yeah, I think that'll work all right, though. That'll work the way they'll do it now. Okay, but we will keep y'all posted on what as that progresses. Any other reports or questions?
Got the gas report up there in case you want to look at it, Mike. And I think I updated most everybody on all the major projects that are going on right now.
Any questions on any of that?
Thank you, Bob.
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay, item 4B, scope of service to spray the cemetery for weed control. Review the bid tab.
This is the scope of service that Herb Assistance put together for us. The amount of the various applications that they would do each year. I guess we already missed the one that's February through March, but maybe we can still get that in there. I don't know. But there would be 5 applications to take care of weeds and other unwanted grasses, broadleaf, other grassy issues that that are making the cemetery look like it's uncut, even though it is cut sometimes. This we think will help the cemetery and help the grass out there and make it look a lot better. This was the low bid. We had 3 bids on this project, and they're the 3 bids. Herb Systems was the low bid. Let me kill your weeds, Herb Systems. So
Does anyone have any experience with Urban Systems?
They do my yard, and I've been very pleased with them.
They've done our yard in Oakland, and we were happy with them.
Good, okay.
I think Herb Systems is probably pretty famous as far as that guy on TV. Let me kill your weeds.
Right. And they do
Okay.
call you back. They call you to see if your weeds are gone instead
Oh,
of spraying
wow.
it, thinking that's done with.
That's
After they
good.
do it a couple of weeks, they call to see if everything's been killed that needs to be.
Okay, we will move that forward to the board meeting. C is discuss the water modeling contract with Heathcote and Davis.
You want to do this, Chief?
So we discussed this at the retreat. You should have a brief summary of what we discussed in the scope of work. Basically, the need of a water plant is upon us. And this will help us decide on the best location and the best, what's the projected area of growth, our greatest needs. They've given us a price on it, what they anticipate it to be, but we've also learned, Bob, if there was a grant available that possibly could
Right.
pay for this entire
Yes, there's a
scope of work.
$50,000 grant out there for this project. They've applied for this, that grant. So that's through Heathcote and Davis. So if they get the grant, then we will not have to pay a dime for this. But we can pay for it whether they get the grant or not. It's just, it would be nice to have the money for the grant.
Yeah, 50,000 here, 50,000 there, and you're soon talking about real money, aren't you?
Yeah, well, that's right. And this is in the budget for 50,000. So 47.5 is a little lower than that.
Any questions? All right, we'll move that forward to the board meeting. The gas modeling contract.
Again, this was discussed at the retreat. It is we have a current gas model that Alton had put together years ago when he was with another firm. And upon reading it, we've completed, and it's come to fruition, all but like two things that they forecast would happen for our gas system. Our next gas project takes in one of those. The other one was running up 196 towards I-40, which is not in this upcoming years, but the following. I think that our gas system's gotten large enough that we need to definitely consider doing this as soon as possible. As you well know, we up in Oakland, the Hickory Whiff area has almost doubled in size since this began. And what we've been doing has helped us tremendously. However, a forecast for future growth for our gas system is needed.
Any questions? Okay, we'll move that forward to the board meeting. Discuss the petitioning TDEC to increase the permit limits for the lagoon and hiring Heathcote and Davis to help.
Want to talk about that?
Um,
I think it's self-explanatory. It's another thing we discussed at the meeting, Mayor, at the retreat to get started on what might be the next phase of the sewer system. We might want to start by checking out the permit and seeing how much additional discharge we can get on our permit. So we have no cost on that yet. We can talk to Heathcote and Davis about that.
Okay, so you'll be bringing back a contract on that?
Well, Mayor, it's permission to proceed. Can we start the discussion with the state about,
Yeah, as long as you don't attract attention and they talk about cutting our limits. That's,
no guarantees there, sir. It'd be tough to cover.
well, then we might just need to leave that alone. Any thoughts Anybody? All right, well, I assume no thoughts is at least an approval to, or not necessarily approval, but anyway, nobody objects to you doing that, I guess is the way to say that. So we're not ready for a contract yet, but you'll start the preliminary discussions then.
Thank you, sir.
F is review the competitive quotes for the 3-year mosquito bid.
Yes, we got 3 people to give us a bid or take out packets. One of them, no bid. Orkin gave us a bid of $10,100. I'm sorry, this is a competitive quote, sorry. And Vector Disease Control gave us a quote of $9,900. This is
Yep.
$700 more than last year's contract on Vector Disease Control.
We're with Vector now, right?
Yes, sir. And we've been with Vector since, well, for 6 years. So this would be the 7th year with Vector, if we decided to hire Vector.
Okay, any discussion? Move that forward to the board meeting.
Sure.
Review the list of surplus vehicles to sell on gov.deals.
We have 3 vehicles. Fire chief would like to talk about getting rid of the 74 pumper that is no longer in service. We would not do that until we got the new pumper, which should be here in a couple of weeks. The new used pumper, I mean. The 2015 Ford F-250 pickup truck, which was originally purchased in December of 14, was replaced last year with that CARES Act grant, the 100% grant. So we would like to get rid of that vehicle. And one of the old Ford Rangers, we're going to replace that with a full-size truck that we pull from our fleet. So we're going to remove that one. I think that's the old gas Ford Ranger. That's the one that's not as good a shape. The other one from the sewer department is in better shape.
Any questions? Okay, we'll bring that forward to the board meeting. Where am I? State contract price for a Chevrolet 1500 4x4 pickup for the gas department.
Yes, sir. Well, we have 3 new employees who are mostly working in the gas department or in the meter department. So we would really, we're requesting that we purchase, this is actually a 21 truck that was left over, a 4-wheel drive, a 1500 on state contract. And the state contract price is $28,752. The retail price is $42,630. So that's a pretty significant savings there on the state contract price. And we're requesting that we get this truck for the gas department.
Any questions, comments? Okay, move that forward to the board meeting. Review the proprietary purchase quote of 101 loops, 101 regulators, and 4 large 880 gas meters.
So we're selling meters and stuff at a ridiculous rate. These are the pieces that go along with the meters, the loops and the regulators. And then 4 large meters, we need some new 880 meters. We don't use that many of them, but we need to replenish our supply. So the total
Any
cost.
questions?
That's it.
All right, move that forward to the board meeting. And now we're to the separate budget document.
Yes, sir. Okay, this is the first look at the budget. Anybody need a break? Okay, good. This is the first look at the budget. We looked at this a little bit at the retreat. So the assumptions that I make every year, I change them up a little bit every year to let you know what assumptions I've made to create this first document. Right now, the current rate is 68.02 cents per 100 assessed value, but that's going to change this year. So I spoke to Mark about it and he will not have that. I don't know, the state site was down for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. I'm not sure what he said. And we won't have our new value, our new assessed value, and I'm sorry, our new certified tax rate until the middle of May. So even though this might be the tax rate we insert in the first reading, we need to make sure that we understand that this will probably not be the certified tax rate in the second reading. Just want to let everybody know that ahead of time.
I
So-
assume the tax rate's gonna go down.
That's what I would say too. Yes, sir. I can't imagine values went up. I mean, went the wrong way, went down. Not
Right.
last year, 4 years, most likely went up. So anyway, our tax rate should go down, pretty good, I would say. But anyway, we'll see what that happens with that. And we should have the new certified tax rate in the middle of May. Couple of things that are included in there. Well, for things that are not included in there are the any pay raises, capital requests are not included other than the 2 police vehicles. The pilot payments are included. The City Hall rental agreement has been updated and included. Projected year end will be adjusted again as we get closer to the budget time. Basically, some of those things that have not been included are basically employee-related expenses, and capital expenses are not included. There are a few capital expenses included. Are there any questions about the assumptions that I've made? I make the same assumptions just about every year. Also, this retirement match may change this year. We haven't gotten to that. There's a meeting about that every year, or I think it's every year or every 2 years. And we ought to know pretty soon what our retirement match will be. It's been the same for several years now. Are there any questions on that? This is the next document here on the page is what the 1%, 2%, and 3% pay increase equivalents would be for fiscal year 22. What we've been doing the last couple of years is giving a straight dollar amount, which would be a different hourly pay increase for regular full-time employees, police officers, and firemen. So you can see this year, every 1% is $458. And you can see how that goes across the funds there. And then you can see the direct cost to each fund based on those dollars over here. So general fund, each percent in the general fund is almost $9,000. Solid waste is $1,100. Water $1,700. So you can see what it does to every fund all the way across. And then down here is what it would look like if we just gave a straight 1%. And you can see that the value here of the total value is virtually the same in both spots. So it's as close as I can get it using pennies instead of percentages. So are there any questions on that? You can see the full-time employees work 2,080 hours. Police officers work 2,184 a year. Firefighters work 2,756 a year. And that's where the differences come for each hourly rate difference. So
And we gave 2% this past year,
we gave a 3% increase, sir.
3%.
Yes, sir. We've given a 3% increase for several years in a row. And I can look up what the CPIU has done this year and let you know what that looks like. I can go in there. I think it's probably up there for last year by now. I think they have it calculated by now. Any questions on the pay equivalence increases?
Is there a way to get some comparisons and show us how we compare to other local governments?
As far as percentage?
No, I mean, as far as what our patrolmen make compared to a sheriff's department or
Yes, sir.
Rossville or
all that
Collierville or.
I have all that. Well, not Collierville. I didn't include Collierville, but I've done a 15 city survey that I did for the retreat that I can bring that back to the board for a look at if you'd like to.
Yeah, I would like to see that with with this sheet.
Okay.
again.
All right. I can do that. All right. The next thing, this is a list of the board priorities for that Mindy did when she took the survey at the retreat. And I think there were, what, 17 or 18 people that that answered that information, took the survey, I mean. And this is how it stacked up as far as priorities of the people present at the meeting. You can see that we already purchased a new fire truck or a used fire truck pumper to replace the old one. These are some of the capital projects that we can include in this year's budget. In addition to, of course, we have the main capital projects, which are the firehouse project and the police headquarters will be next year. But and the two TDOT projects, which need to be budgeted because they're continuing projects. But these would be in addition to those projects. Doing the water with the water modeling and the gas modeling will help us with the first priority there. Adding new firemen would be a possible another priority. If we can maybe add part-timers or add one new fireman, or I put a couple of options together there I'll show you later. And you can see all the way down the whole list of priorities that we're giving out. Is there any questions about that list of priorities?
Is someone already interested in using the phase 2 UT Martin?
We always have somebody interested in
Oh, okay.
Actually, Kara would love us to do phase 2, which is basically finishing off the piece that we're putting the roof on right now. So it would be, updating the kitchen, fixing those rooms back there, creating 2 new distance learning centers in the center portion behind Kara's office there. And, basically fixing up that area before you get to the big section in the back. So it's about 7,000 square feet in there. And if you take out Kara's offices that are already finished, it might be 5,000 square feet to finish off to do all that stuff.
Are there
Anyway,
a lot?
Yeah.
Is there enough activity to warrant doing that right now?
Well, not right now, obviously, but I do understand that UT Martin is going to be opening up their campus in the fall, according to them right now. So that would mean that the center would be open also. So hopefully enrollment will pick up.
Okay.
Again, we have to find the funds for that. We don't really have the funds for that right now.
Well, we don't know what it costs either.
Yeah, $125 a square foot, roughly, just throwing numbers against the wall. But that's what it cost. It cost us $115 a square foot to do it before. So maybe a little bit more than that 125 a square foot. Anyway, that's just some ideas. And this is how it was when everybody graded them. This is how the grading came out. So you can see where the priorities are for at least everybody that was at that meeting, which is 17 or 18 people. Any questions on that? Any more questions on that? Okay. This is a list. This is hard to see because it's probably, if you're looking at a telephone, you probably can't read any of that. The top projects, the top 4 projects are the active projects. That's the firehouse project, the 2 TDOT projects that are coming up, and the downtown grant are all the 4 active projects that probably should be budgeted as part of the first reading. The fire apparatus was removed because we've already purchased that fire apparatus. And then the other one in yellow, which is police headquarter renovation, won't be until next year anyway. So, so that won't start till probably July of 22, which would be fiscal year 23. The other projects that we're hoping to add in there, capital purchases in the general fund, would be purchasing a new backhoe for the Public Works Department, which it was split 1/3 in the streets, 1/3 in solid waste, 1/3 in sewer.
We really can't even read this.
Okay,
Can we skip over the capital and go ahead and go to the operating, and then we can come back to the capital when
sure.
we can actually see it?
Other considerations that we would need for the general fund budget would possibly be the sales tax referendum expense, the firearms training facility for the police department, which we're working on. We have no cost on that yet. Advanced EMT training for part-timers and volunteer firefighters, offering a couple of scholarships a year. And I don't have anything worked out on that yet, but they would have to try to get grants first, because I know some people can get Pell Grants and stuff like that for that training. So we would subsidize the Pell Grants if they could get those. And then potentially maybe hiring a new firefighter, or hiring 3 part-time firefighters or 1 full-time firefighter. Probably not attainable at this point without the referendum, or hiring anything more than 1 firefighter. So the best getting the best coverage is probably option 1, which is the 3 part-timers, but it's probably more difficult to operate that, just because you have to fill those positions all the time. So I wish Kel was here to talk about it. But anyway, option 3 and 4 probably would need to be would absolutely need to wait until we decide what to do with the referendum. Are there any questions on that? I don't think there's anything else. No, that's it. Any questions on any of that? Those 4 additional possibilities. This is, again, this is probably premature. I don't know. I included this in here, which would be a resolution to establish the new base pay and salary caps for the entire city, and then inserting the new positions in there that would not actually be creating any new positions, any new employees. It would just be identifying the position that those employees are in. And so wherever it says new, you can see that that's something that I added for this term. And you can see the base pay and salary cap and what that used to be over here if it's changed. If it says unchanged, that means we didn't change it. It was the same thing in the last time. So you can review that as we move forward in the budget process. And this would establish all the new. Basically, it's basically the same. It's a very little change as far as the bottom pay goes. Some of the top pay has been changed a little bit. And then we've added the maintenance team and Mendy's job description in there, or Mendy's job duties in there. Sorry. Anyway. So is there any questions on that? I mean, you can just take a look at it as we go along here. And if you have any questions on it, you can get with me this month and I can talk to you about it. And then here is the general fund budget. Is there anything specific you'd like to talk about with any of the budget in here? Is there anybody that had anything to talk about? Okay, so here we are year to date. In this column, the white column here is fiscal year to date. This is where we are so far right now. The blue one is the amended budget. The pink one, if you can see it, if you can see all those colors, are the projected year-end budget. That pink one will change as we go along. And then the fiscal year 22 proposed budget. And then the dark green is the O&M budget that we discussed at the retreat. And you can see that it's all very similar every year, basically where we are. There are a few differences in the intergovernmental revenue, and I added this in here, is that the governor's local support grant, which last year we got $100,642. We're supposed to get $101,422 this year. So I did add that into the budget. None of the other grant revenue is in there because the grants are not in there. So I didn't add those in there yet. I did add in there the projected sales taxes and everything. And you can see where that all falls in. If you look over here in the far right column, the O&M budget would be 344,000, but the budget for this year is 445. The difference basically is that grant from the state that we would be getting. That is probably non-recurring. Basically, the revenues have not changed a whole lot. Sales tax, of course, has changed pretty dramatically. But basically everything else is basically budgeted right around where we were this year, with the exception of the taxes and stuff like that, and the increase in the sales tax and local option and state share taxes. Not cooked into those tax revenues would be any change in our population. So if we have a negative change in population, some of those state share taxes would go down. And if we have a positive change in population, some of those state share taxes would go up.
Bob, wholesale
Yeah.
liquor and beer, wholesale beer tax.
Sorry.
We need to really watch that because COVID increased it, but as things open up, people aren't at home as much. Is that going to decrease?
So, yeah, so I kind of went back to where we were before, Mike. If you
Okay.
look at, see where we are over here, even though I'm projecting 190, or actually we're on pace to do over 200 this year.
Right.
In beer. I went back to pre-COVID basically. And same thing with liquor. Liquor's going up a little bit, but nowhere near like what beer tax has gone up.
Right.
If you look back in 20, fiscal year 20, it ended at 75,000. So I put 75,000 on there. I
Right.
tried to overextend it, And again, I could remove a little bit extra from the sales tax, the local option sales tax. If everybody doesn't feel comfortable with that 650, I could drop it another 25,000 or something like that. It really doesn't affect it too much at this point. And again, I don't know the property tax. I will find out the exact property tax that we'll have and budget 95% of that, like what we usually collect 95% of the property tax.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Is there any other questions on the revenue side? Basically, most of the revenues are close to the same as last year. And I've left out the grant revenue because I don't have the grant expense in there yet. So if you look at the bottom line, down here at the bottom line, my O&M budget is 2.4 million. Right now, revenue is $2.5 million. And the basic difference is that $101,000 grant from the state. Okay, expenses. Legislative expenses, that's paying all you guys. And expenses related to the board. You can see that right across there. Basically budgeted almost exactly the same, $2 less than last year. I must have rounded something off. Building department salaries and stuff like that. There's the building department expenses, basically the same as this, as where we are right now. We're on pace to do about 43,000, 44,000 this year without any salary in there. So added some of Stacy's salary in there, 20% of her salary's in there. because she takes care of probably one day she spends on building department related stuff. One day a week. Any questions on those two areas? City recorder, that's everybody's, a piece of everybody's salary that works here in City Hall. And you can see the amended budget, $77,000 this year. We're on pace to do about 75,000 and budgeted 72,000. Simply because I moved 10%, sorry, 20% of Stacy's salary from city recorder into the, building department a block. So that's the reason why it's gone down slightly. General government buildings, again, basically the same. I took out this accounting software because we moved that. I actually left it in last year for some reason. I don't know why. So it is basically the same as last year, except I removed that 10,000 from there and put it in the correct spot. Any questions on that page? Okay. This is the police. You can see police salaries right here. The open position is currently budgeted at the minimum rate of pay for an experienced officer. So I did leave that pay in there. And you can see this year we're on a pace. We budgeted 1.06. We're on a pace to do 1.04, and we budgeted 1.05. So we're right in there. O&M wise, we're at almost 1.1 million. The difference is I took one of the police vehicles out of the general fund and moved it to the drug fund. We talked about that at the retreat. There's enough money in the drug fund. There's almost $60,000 in the drug fund where we can purchase one of these vehicles out of that fund rather than the general fund this year if we wanted to. And that's, again, totally up to you guys. We can leave it in general fund if you want, but we have the opportunity to pay for it with drug fund money. If we approve the take-home vehicle expansion of the take-home vehicle, I may increase the gas, oil, and grease a little bit based on that. Any questions? Okay. And again, the police headquarters won't take place until fiscal year 23, so it won't be in this year's budget. Fire department, again, we're right in there. It's basically the same. I did not include the firehouse project in there. If you take a look at it, here's my 447 is my O&M budget. Right now, my budget is 446.5. I don't know what the difference is. They should basically be the same right at the moment. But I will include the firehouse project in there for the first reading because it's an ongoing project. So the revenue and the expense will be in there. So that fire will be significantly larger. And we'll also we'll be including a budget amendment here on the blue line for the purchase of the fire apparatus. And then the expense will be there in the pink line. The blue line would be the amended budget and the pink line will be the expense. Any questions on fire? Okay. Public Works, again, it's about the same as last year. The O&M budget is 173,424, and I'm budgeting 173,424. So the thing that's going to be added to that for the first reading will be these two grants. The 2015 grant will be completed by then because they're working on that sidewalk right now. The 2018 grants, I really don't know how to budget that multimodal yet because they are 3 or 4 or 5 months behind, but we should be starting the TA grant, which is the sidewalk to the school. That would be probably in July or August, we'll be starting that project. So that should be completed all in fiscal year 22. Whereas the multimodal will probably not be totally completed in fiscal year 22. It'll probably start, I would imagine, in the wintertime or right after the first of the year, and then be completed sometime in fiscal year 23. So the multimodal again is are the new traffic signals on the square, and all that. Are there any questions on that? And we actually were going to try to buy a new truck this year in the in this fund. However, we got that grant. They got that 100% grant, so we eliminated the need to purchase that vehicle. And that's where you can see the $49,000 right here, where the purchase of the two vehicles that we amended the budget to purchase, and then the revenue is up in the revenue side. So we were going to be having to purchase a new vehicle there. We don't have to this year because we got the grant. We actually purchased two new vehicles in the general fund for the street department this year with grant money, which was great. Any questions there? Cemetery represents about 10% of the Public Works Department's salaries combined. So you can see where that is right here, and it's basically the same as it was last year. I guess there's a few things lower, but I don't know what's lower. Okay, repair and maintenance services, which I may have to increase that again based on the approval of the spraying of the cemetery. So I'll probably increase that back up a little bit again when we approve that, if we approve that at the board meeting. And then recreational and cultural, again, we saved some money this year because we saved some expenses this year because we didn't do any of the cultural activities this year. So, but I'm anticipating that we're going to do most of them next year. So I just put the same operating supply expense in there for that. Are there any questions for that? Libraries and donations. I have received one request for the donations already. I'm assuming we'll make the same donations again this year that we made last year. And then the library, since kids are appearing to go back to school, we'll have the backpack expense back in there. So those are the total donations up there that we did previously. The UT Martin Somerville Center, again, these are the budgeted expenses. The repair and maintenance on there is just in there just in case, there really are no anticipated, that's just a guesstimate at this point. But you can see we are way lower than where we expect. We had 10,000 in the budget. We've only spent year to date $738. So that's going to that'll be somewhere in our neighborhood of $2,500 by the end of the year. And then of course the roofing project was added in later, so that's in there. But I don't see any capital expenses out there this year at all. And then the museum, we do have some utility expense. We do turn on the heat in the wintertime, so we do have utility expense out there in that one section. And these are the anticipated expenses for the museum building without any projects in it. But you can see we can put some projects in there if we want to. So you take all that into account, and right now, if you take in the revenues that we have, including the governor's grant of $101,000, the revenues versus expenses leaves us with operating revenues in excess of operating expenses of roughly $450,000. But that's going to disappear quickly when we start doing these projects. So when I add in the TDOT projects and so forth, that'll start going down pretty quickly. And you can see just our OM budget right now is positive $316,000, which no additional revenue, that's And that does include the 2 police vehicles purchase, but that's the only capital purchase it includes. So what it would do to our general fund balance, cash balance at the bottom. The pink line is if everything I just told you comes true at the end of the year, we'll be at around $1.4 million. If we did not increase the budget at all next year, we didn't do any capital projects, we'd be significantly higher in general fund there. So that tells you what happens to the cash balance in each line. Are there any questions from anybody? Okay. Drug fund, again, I included the purchase of that vehicle in there if we want to do that. Here's the green line is the proposed budget. Right now we will have by the end of the year $49,600 to purchase the vehicle with. So I'm anticipating that purchase of vehicle is $40,000. You can see we've spent no money so far this year in the drug fund. Any questions on the drug fund?
Now, are those computers that we're buying, are those coming out of the drug fund?
No. We did not see the possibility of purchasing that in the drug fund, in the definition in there. I tried to get it in there this year. So it was an either or. So we could have purchased the computers out of there this year and purchased the car and purchased the car out of the general fund next year, or vice versa. So I just picked it. I put the computers in the general fund and put the car in the drug fund this year. So it's an either or thing because they're basically the same amount of money. Okay. Is that the only question? Anybody else have a question on the drug fund? Okay. The street aid fund, again, the revenue's been pretty steady there. Again, this fund will be affected. The revenue will be affected by the census taken, the 2020 census. If the population goes up, revenue will increase, and if it goes down, it'll decrease slightly. I can't imagine we're going down in population, but you never know. So the one thing I did include in this budget would be another road project again this year of $100,000. We right now will have, by the end of this fiscal year, we'll have $111,000 in there or so. So we can easily do a street project next year and still have plenty of money left over at the end of the year in the fund balance, around $70,000. So what I'm hoping is that we can do kind of $100,000 every 2 years rather than an $85,000 project every 2 years. So adding a little bit more. Any questions there on the street aid fund? Okay. Solid waste fund. Again, this is a projection on revenues, houses and new houses and new customers. Not really changing too much from what it's projected to be at the end of this year. Right now, the projected year end is 585, and I've got 590 on it for next year. The salaries in there are basically the same as projected here. You can see the contractual services will go up slightly based on the cost of living increase. And then most of the other budgeted items are going to stay about the same. We're anticipating we'll increase the fund balance by $13,000 this year, and I'm sorry, by $37,000 this year, and then it would be increasing the cash balance by $37,000 next year also. As far as the state goes, when they review our audit, they're going to look at this change in accrual net position And if we're positive, that's where we need to be. We need to be somewhat positive, but not too positive. Any questions about the, any questions about the solid waste fund? Okay. The water fund, we did have a decrease this year in our revenue on the antennas. We lost one of the AT&T antennas. They took it off. So that did decrease our revenue this year, but I think there's another antenna coming on, so it should bring it back up again this year. But I did only budget what we made this year in that line item. Everybody know what the antenna rental is? On top, all those antennas on top of our water tanks make money for us. So in the water fund. So basically, the revenue is about the same as it was, is anticipated to end this year. Or it's about the same as it was this year, budgeted, sorry. Salaries, added some new employees, so the salaries did increase a little bit. So you can see there are the water department expenses. They've gone up slightly. So the revenues in excess has gone down slightly because of the new employees. But we're going to have new houses in there and search, and that'll probably come back up pretty quickly, the way they're building houses in town here anyway. It's anticipated that would be our revenue. $120,000 would be our revenue. Sorry, our revenues in excess of operating expenses at the end of the year. And the total cash increase would be $225,000, which would bring us to approximately $2 million unless we spend some money out of the water fund. Are there any questions there? Okay. Sewer fund, again, it's a slight increase in the budget, revenue basically due to new homes. And you can see that the expenses are virtually the same as last year. Let's see where they are here. Sorry, we get to them. Your total expenses were budgeted there. Here's our year-end projected, and here's our budgeted for next year. This is the revenues. Sorry, here's the non-operating revenues and such. Here's our revenues in excess right here. Your net change in position, again, has to be positive. And then the net change in the cash position at the end of the year, if we do no capital projects in the sewer department, where we would be at the end of the fiscal year next year. Anybody have any questions about that? And then the gas department. The gas department revenues, gas department revenue is really kind of a guess. I mean, we have every year, we don't know whether it's going to be a warm winter or a cold winter or exactly what's going to happen. So I basically put $4.4 million in the budget, and I basically budget 53% of that or 52% of that as the cost of our gas. So that's how I put that all together there in case you wanted to know. It's basically been 52 to 53% over the last 10 years. So I'm pretty safe with that estimate. So there's their anticipated revenues. And again, what's contributed significantly to those revenues are the installation charges. I've anticipated that we're actually going to install or have almost over $400,000 in revenue this year. We're on that pace to do that. And then so I budgeted 400 for next year in that category. It has really gone kind of crazy. So unless something happens where everything falls out from underneath everybody, which right now I don't see it with interest rates the way they are, you never know. But anyway, you can see that the salaries have increased. The salaries increased basically due to the 3 new employees that we hired. And There is there's the expense down there for the gas, at $2.3 million. When you boil it all down, the change in net accrual position would be around $200,000 if all that stuff came true. And then we would have approximately $700,000 for capital projects in the gas department this year. If we didn't spend any of that money, we'd have that $6.6 million in there at the end of the year. So are there any questions in the gas? Mike, you don't have any questions?
Not today, not today.
Okay. Usually have at least one gas question. So anyway, are there any questions in the budget? Anybody have any questions? You know, I can always provide a hard copy of this for anybody who wants to see it. You just let me know and I'll have it at the window and you can come pick it up. I think that we're going to have an in-person meeting next month. I don't think the governor is going to extend that past April 26th. So we'll probably have in-person meetings, and so I'll have for everyone at the meeting. It'll be a little easier to read than on your reading it on your telephone or whatever. I can't imagine.
Bob, I got something from the Tennessee Municipal League today, and they've been lobbying for the governor to extend it another month.
Okay.
I don't know if it'll happen or not, but
Okay.
that's what they said.
Well, if they do that, then I'll make printed copies available for everyone. I think, you know, next month is going to be the first reading. We probably need to, you know, have a printed copy for everybody, so you can look at it, make notes on it, so forth. I think that's the end of the packet. Yes, it is. So are there any questions? Anybody have any questions about anything?
Rick, could you go back and add in the budget the projects that we know that we're basically committed to, even
Yes, sir.
though they're capital?
The current projects.
Yes, I mean, the
Yeah.
ones that we have, basically we're already in, the fire station, the sidewalk grants,
Yeah.
all of those that we know we're going to spend. We just don't know exactly when. Could you add those so we could see where we stand then?
Yes, sir. Of course, the firehouse will have no effect to the revenues in excess because we're going to be borrowing them with a
Right.
bond station note. So,
Right, those things that will affect that $400,000 though.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see in there. I mean, the police station and the fire station, that's borrowed money, so that really doesn't affect the balance.
that's correct.
So if you could work in there, what will affect that? Well, where's the figure? The 448,000 that we've got to work on for capital.
Let me put on my spreadsheet here, Mayor, real quick, if I can find it. All right, I don't know if you can see this or not, but right, if with the two TDOT projects at it, let me make sure I get it correct. Hang on a second. Okay, the four projects that have been added in are the downtown project. That's the $15,000. Of course, that's a net zero because that's $15,000 grant. The two sidewalk projects and the firehouse project. And when you add those in there, the net effect would be 200. We would be at positive 224 for the year. Right there. Can you see it?
Yes.
So that's the net effect. Of course, it's a huge change in the total expenditures because there are large projects in there, and a huge change in the revenues. But the net effect lowers it by about $200,000, which are the matches on the two grants.
What about the salary increases?
I did not include that in there,
Okay,
but I can include that in there in an instant if you'd like to see it. I can put the 1 or 2 or 3% in there, and it'll show you the net change to that position right there.
Well, I mean,
Have
we know
we-
what those figures are, so
Right.
in the
Well, you-
general fund, I mean,
It's about $30,000 in the general fund. It's going to lower it about $30,000 if you did a
Okay.
3 pay increase.
okay.
I just can't read these capital projects. I mean, I could if I had to, but it's too late at night after a
Right.
full day of work to
I don't
try to
blame
read
you.
that.
Yeah, it's unbelievably small, I'm sure.
Yes, when you print it out on a
Let me just see if I
piece
can
of
get better.
paper,
Hang on a second there. I don't know if this is going to help at all or
it
not.
would help if you would landscape that instead of when it prints out.
I think okay. Hang on a second. See if I can zoom in on this thing. I don't know how you zoom in on a spreadsheet. I don't know if this helps you on the screen at all. Can you see that a little better or not really?
Well, I can see it a little better, but I like
You wanna
it
On
I
paper.
want it on paper so I can
Yes, sir.
make notes.
Well, I can give you that tomorrow when I see you tomorrow.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything tonight as far as the budget goes? All right, now we will have first reading in May,
Yes, sir.
so we'll be refining these numbers between now and the first reading in May. Do we even need this on the agenda for our April meeting?
No, sir, we don't usually put it on there. Well, we
Okay.
can make the capital adjustments at the workshop if we want on May, and like, we can suggest to put stuff in there and see what it looks like. For sure, we're gonna put the 4 current projects in there, which this is what they would look like right there. And then any other capital projects that we want to put in there. If we know we want to put in scholarships for the fire department, EMT, for volunteers and such, we can put that in there, or whatever one of those pieces we want to do that. We could do it at the workshop and then see what it looks like at the first reading. If you want, we can do that. There's no problem.
Okay. We can talk about that at the next budget workshop and maybe have this in the shape that we can actually read it and see how different things change it.
Like I said, I can print copies and anybody who wants one can come and get it. No problem.
Okay.
This also, my spreadsheet here also reflects more updated numbers on the projected year end also. So, I've been working on it since, I printed the packet last week. Because I got new numbers.
Okay, any questions on the first review of the budget?
I feel that we really need restrooms at the park. That
Yes.
may be, but I feel like that is something that should be in there. That's just my opinion.
Well, I think it's a
Judy-
good
Judy,
opinion
I
because
agree
I
with you.
agree with you.
I agree.
with you too.
Also, it's kind of from left field and everything, but I've had, for some reason here lately, I've had younger parents come to me about I don't know why they've all started coming to me about it, but about the ball field. And then I said, well, it's privately owned. Then another parent comes to me and says they heard that the ball field may be getting bought by Memphis Packing or something. I was like, well, I would hate to see the ball field get turned into industrial area when the city of Somerville needs something like that's. Just good to have that for the kids.
Well, I
Somebody
think the
mentioned
only way
that to me too.
about the only way that I think would happen would be is if there was another park. I mean, it wouldn't be close that up and Memphis Contract Packaging take it over. It would be they would move and Memphis
Has
Contract Packaging would take it over.
Right. Well, I just, if something like that was or anything was going to happen, I just wondered, has the city or maybe even the county ever considered buying that ballpark so you could really pump some metaphorical steroids into it?
Well,
I like
that's
that.
never been.
Uh-huh.
I will tell you, back in about 1990, I was approached by when I was mayor before, I was approached by one of the trustees about the city taking that park over. And we just had coffee one morning to talk about it. And I thought we were both going to get run out of town over people explaining to us that the city wasn't about to take over that ballpark, that it was privately run, privately owned, and that's the way it was going to stay. So I don't know if there's any change in that attitude.
Yeah. I didn't know if there was rumors and talk that let Memphis Packing buy it. I would say, why not? If that was true or happening, I'd be like, I think the county or the city, or actually the city, should go buy it, because I mean that's just great if we could take it over and really turn it into something nice, make it better and everything, because it's just good to have that, because we want the kids to be playing ball.
Yeah.
And because if we get rid of the ballpark, that's where younger people that are wanting to come start families are, be like, well, where's my kid going to go play little league at? And I'd
Well,
hate for something like that to happen.
right, and I don't think that will happen. I mean, the only way it might move, but I don't think it would just go away. Now, I don't know what happens to that if Oakland puts in all that they're talking about putting in down there in their new park. I don't know whether that would hurt this program out here or not, whether people would go to Oakland rather than come out here, or I
Are they
just don't know.
putting I know they're doing the soccer fields and everything, but are they doing a baseball field too?
Well, I think their long-term plans are to have softball fields and baseball fields and everything. Now, how quickly that would get done, I don't know, but
Right.
I don't know if they finished their master plan, but
Well, I just know that I look at because I go to McNairy County and Hardeman County and Tipton County all the time for practicing as well, and I drive by that ball field in Bolivar all the time, and it's really nicely kept. I don't know. I think maybe Bolivar may own that park. I just like, well,
they own part of that. I don't know if they own and keep up all of it or not. Uh, I know there were some private groups that built some of those fields to start with. Now, the field in the middle, I think, was built by the city, and I think the city may keep it all up. But
right.
and in most cities of any size, they do have their own programs. But it's
Oh,
always been private here, so there was no need for the city to get into the business.
oh yeah. Well, there's
Uh,
no need there if it's private. I mean, there's not. I
yeah.
mean, I just said if something was ever coming up, the city would be able to maybe potentially buy it and us do a better job with it.
Well, I don't know if we could do a better job with it. We could, I guess at some point we could, if we chose to, we could certainly buy it and operate it, but I don't know that we could do any better job than what they're doing out there.
Well, I'd say just how we keep the cemetery upkeep, the guys at the city would that'd be another part of their job, is upkeep and everything, making it look nice all year round.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we can do that. It's just, there's never been any, since it was privately held and they were proud of it being privately held. There was no need for us to get in the business.
Who
And of
owns
course, we
it now?
can't. It's owned by a nonprofit corporation that if they decided we're going to close this up, it's my understanding they would have to, if they sold the property, they would have to donate the money to a charity just like they are. It's not like somebody could sell it and put money in their pocket or anything.
Okay.
So the money would have to be donated to another 501c3 charity, I assume.
Right, or a government, Mayor.
Okay.
They can donate the property to a government, or they can donate it to another 501c3, but they cannot sell it to Memphis Contract Packaging. And so the only way they were actually going to consider selling it would be to, like you said, make a trade. So Memphis Contract Packaging would have to build them another baseball field somewhere else and then trade it.
Oh, well,
Which-
that's good.
Yeah, except it's expensive.
Yeah.
So I don't know where all that is now at this point. I think Skip has been talking to them about stuff, but I don't really know. I'm kind of out of the loop on that now. But there was some talk about them interested in buying it. But I think the expense was too great for them at that point. So I don't know if they've gone in another direction or not. But yes, the ballpark could be donated to us if they wanted to do that. Or another government or 501c3.
Yeah, it was just a thought. I mean, if I'd heard when I'd heard that, and I was like, well, I would definitely would like to bring that up to the rest of the board, just to put that thought in our head, just in case something like that was happening, where we could be like, hey, we'll buy it instead of letting Memphis Packing have it, where it's like now we're gonna lose our ball field.
Well, of course, see, we wouldn't have to, according to what Bob just said, we wouldn't have to buy it. We just have to accept it.
Because what are they going to do with the money when they take it? So
That would be one of the most expensive gifts we could ever accept.
yes, it's the ongoing expense. I mean, it takes 15 guys to cut that cemetery. And they only cut it once every 10 days to 2 weeks. Now, if you had to cut the ballpark 3 times a week to keep that grass at a certain level, I don't know how we could do that. I don't know how we could efficiently do that without a major amount of volunteers, because I know Matthew and Brian do a lot of work on that property out there, cutting grass or having people cut the grass for them. It's just,
And you've got to mark it off every ball game.
you have to mark,
put the powder down and all that. It would be an expensive deal.
fix the
but
fence, all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
I would hate to see our children not have it, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I agree. That's
Yeah,
important to bringing families out here.
A lot
And
of
there is some revenue there. I mean, they take a fee to join the league, and I don't know how much it is. And I think they have probably 300 kids there every year, something like that. But then you have to have somebody that organizes all that stuff too. So it becomes a huge expense to the town. You know, the maintenance part of it.
Well, hopefully if we were to, I guess, take notes from other municipalities and cities that run successful ballparks, we might be able to get our money's worth back. If that makes sense.
Yep.
I'd like to see us get a grant to do a whole area of, recreation.
Yeah, that there's a parks out there that's a 50-50 grant. So it can be $1 million project, but you got to put $500,000 in for your half.
Mhm.
Right.
It becomes very expensive very quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, the TDOT grants, those are $250,000 for $1 million. That's even difficult to do on a regular basis.
Mm.
I don't know.
I don't know.
that's-
I
Yeah.
guess I'm just, my age group right now is starting to have kids and everything. So I get approached by that. And then I have some people that are their kids already getting T-ball age. I was like, so I guess that's why I'm getting bombarded with it right now.
Mhm.
But I recall me having good memories out there playing ball as a kid. So that was only 20 years ago.
Don't say how young you are. It makes us feel
No,
bad.
no, we don't need to hear that, Colin.
I was there 25 years ago too, Colin, and I broke my nose. That was the last time I went out there. Played softball. That was the end of that. That was the end of my softball career.
Oh,
Know that I see that which I've advertised it to some folks and talked about it, but you know, Oakland is they're trying to get a recreation thing going to where they're about to have adult kickball teams going. So,
yeah, I noticed that.
and I just would, point being is I just don't want us to get left behind on fun things like that.
All right. Anything else?
No, sir.
All right. We will see everybody Monday night, 7:00.
Okay.
Adios.
Not
See
it.
y'all.
Buddy.
Good night.
Good night.